Bill Walsh is often regarded as one of the best football coaches of all time. Under his leadership, the San Francisco 49ers achieved a record 3 Super Bowl wins in under 10 years.
Makes the San
Francisco 49ers.
Accompaniment of the Charger
and I think George is saying, what's that kid?
John Madden made a joke about how hard Bill studies the game, mentioning that he often gets ketchup and mustard all over his playbook. But I think there's a lot to be learned from that joke. Whenever you read a book that's going to be providing you value, you should absolutely devour and absorb all of the information that's available to you in that book. Doing so might ruin the condition of the book a little. But as you can see, I really made good use of this book. I have post-its and notes scattered throughout the book, and it's absolutely one of the best books I've ever picked up. Now, the title, How to Win Friends and Influence People, might be a bit cringy in today's standards, but I think you can learn more from this book than the top 10 self-help books of today combined. The reason is very simple. These days you see new self-help books being published all the time, and honestly there's a lot of money to be made publishing these kinds of books. But back when How to Win Friends and Influence People was published, self-help was Dale Carnegie's passion project that he actually dedicated his life to. He genuinely wanted to help people improve their lives and relationships, and in doing so he created one of the best self-help books ever to be published. How to Win Friends and Influence People was published during the Great Depression, and Dale Carnegie regularly held talks during that time to help people get on track with their lives and restart after that terrible depression that hit them in the 1930s. It was also around that time that Warren Buffett picked up the book and did what only the 9-year-old self of the greatest investor of all time would do. Mini Warren Buffett heard great things about the book from the people around him, and at 9 years old he ran a statistical test of the principles in the book to see if they would always hold true. After thoroughly testing the principles, thankfully, young Warren approved of the principles in the book. Now, what are these life-changing principles? The principles of How to Win Friends and Influence People are split into 4 different sections. The first section is titled Fundamental Techniques and Handling People, and it lays out the playing field which you're going to master throughout the course of the book. It discusses some of the essential laws of human nature that you're going to have to understand before you learn how to master them. The second section is titled 6 Ways to Make People Like You, and honestly, it doesn't need much explaining. Personally, this is my favorite section because as you read it, you can begin using the principles in the book immediately on whoever is around you. You begin to notice the effects of this book fastest during this section. The third section is the most influential in a business setting, and it's called How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking, which deals with the best ways to persuade people to get them aligned with your way of thinking. The fourth and final section is titled Be a Leader, and it combines all of the information from the 3 previous sections to illustrate how a leader should really act. Now, if I were to go into each principle and summarize each one, this review would be over an hour. So instead, I'm going to highlight certain quotes from this huge list that I have bookmarked over here, and I'm going to tell you why they stood out to me. This should give you a taste of the powerful lessons you're going to learn in the book, and if you learn a lot from these quotes, then imagine how much you're going to learn if you read the entire book. The first quote is by far one of, if not the #1 most important quote in the book, and it is, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. If you really think about it, everyone wants to feel important. So by asking people questions about themselves and really being interested in what they respond, they will instantly begin to like you and leave the conversation with a good feeling inside about you as a person. Like I mentioned in last week's video, everyone is the main character of their own life, and it's a waste of time trying to get them to view you as the main character of their own. But by acknowledging their unique traits and skills, you're going to make them feel important, and they're gonna like you more. The second quote is extremely actionable, and it's one of the fastest ways to get people to like you more. It tells you to remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Ever since reading that, I made it a priority to remember people's names the first time they tell it to me. I used to say, I'm just bad at names, but after seeing the lengths that Dale Carnegie goes to remember people's names, I made it an active goal, because by remembering their name, it automatically raises you a level in their mind subconsciously when you call them by their name. Try it with someone new that you meet, and you'll see for yourself what I'm talking about. The third quote is from the third section of the book. This one's interesting. You can't win an argument You can't, because if you lose it, you lose it, and if you win it, you lose it. Sounds weird, but it really makes a lot of sense. I came into this section thinking that I was gonna learn how to win in any argument, but what I learned here is that the only way to win is to never get into one. You can leave an argument thinking you've won and you proved your point and you showed him who's boss, but in the end, he's only gonna leave despising you a little bit more deep down. The fourth and final quote I'm going to leave you with is from the last section of the book. Give a dog a bad name and you may as well shoot him. We respond to what others believe about us. This one is genius, and I tested it out on my brother as soon as I finished this chapter. There are so many times you tell yourself or those around you they're just not good at certain things, but that is subconsciously creating a boundary in their mind regarding that thing. Instead, you should tell them that they're naturally good at the thing you want them to do. I hope these quotes helped you understand the power and the amount of knowledge packed into this small book. When I was doing real estate last month, I used so many of the principles in this book, and I don't think I would have found my clients without them. By the way, that's a sick video, you should definitely check it out. But seriously, my advice is drop any other self-improvement book you're reading right now and just dedicate yourself to this book until you actually see the changes in your life. That's all from me this week, and I'll see you in the next one.